Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a city defined by water, shaped by industry, and known for its rich brewing history. Situated at the confluence of three rivers and on the shores of Lake Michigan, Milwaukee offers a mix of waterfront trails, historic neighborhoods, lakefront beauty, and cultural landmarks. This video showcases the best that Milwaukee has to offer on an approximately 25-mile bicycle tour. The Brew City's unique geography, historical buildings, and newest attractions are all on display in this action-packed urban ride through this great American city.
Today we're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We're going to go on a 20-plus mile tour of some of the best sights Milwaukee has to offer. And I'm bringing along my son Ryan, who's a junior at Marquette. Ryan, what's your favorite thing about Milwaukee?
Probably just where I go to school, Marquette.
Yeah, and do you know the city well?
Better than Chicago, and I grew up there, so.
All right, and we're going to learn it a little bit better on this great ride in Milwaukee.
The tour begins at the Milwaukee Pierhead Lighthouse, at the point in which the Milwaukee River meets Lake Michigan. The 40-foot red lighthouse has been in operation since 1906 and has been a key navigational tool for boats entering Milwaukee Harbor for well over 100 years. The Lighthouse Pier offers a great spot to view Lake Michigan, Milwaukee's skyline, and the Daniel Hone Memorial Bridge. This iconic bridge soars over the Milwaukee River and is instantly recognizable with its yellow arch and 2-mile-long span. Just north of the lighthouse is Lakeshore State Park. Opened in 1991, this 22-acre natural landscape sits between a lagoon and Lake Michigan and has a circular path that goes through prairie grasses, wildflowers, and rocky shorelines. The grounds of Festival Park can be seen when looking across the lagoon. Festival Park is most famous for hosting the Summerfest Music Festival since 1968. The 11-day music festival is held annually at the end of June. Lakeshore State Park is exited via an arched bridge that brings the ride past Discovery World into a lakefront trail that passes by the Milwaukee Museum of Art. This structure was designed by Spanish architect Santiago Calatrava and opened in 2001. It is instantly recognizable by its wing-like structure that opens and closes twice daily. Typically, the wings slowly open at 10 a.m. and fold back up at 4 p.m. After passing by the Art Museum, the path leads into Veterans Park. This 50-acre expansive green space juts out into Lake Michigan and is a popular kite-flying spot with great views of Lake Michigan and the Milwaukee skyline. A ride out to the end can give a different perspective of Milwaukee Harbor and a closer look at any freighters that might be out in Lake Michigan. The lakefront path travels north past McKinley Beach and Bradford Beach and past green spaces that offer a multitude of recreational activities. So Ryan, what can you tell me about Bradford Beach?
Yeah, we come out here a lot. I'll probably be here this weekend too.
Any volleyball games here?
Right now they're playing.
How about you?
No, mostly spike ball.
Spike ball.
Yeah.
Lincoln Memorial Drive runs adjacent to the path, and lavish homes sit high on a bluff that overlooks the lake and beaches below. A steady ascent begins north of Bradford Beach that requires some strenuous pedaling as Lincoln Memorial Drive curves towards its termination at the top of the hill. Once to the top, a left brings the ride into Lake Park, which is filled with winding paths, scenic overlooks, and an 18-hole par 3 golf course. Wall Road travels south of Lake Park and is home to some of the most lavish homes in all of Milwaukee. Perched high over Lake Michigan, these homes come in various styles, however, share an extravagance and stunning views of the lake below. Wall Road soon meets the North Point Water Tower. This 175-foot limestone structure was built in 1874 to regulate water pressure in the city of Milwaukee. It has a castle-like appearance with arched windows, columns, and ornate detailing that obscure the steel standpipe that lies beneath the ornamental exterior. The water tower has a remarkable similarity to Chicago's own water tower. However, they were designed by different architects, and Chicago's was built 5 years prior to Milwaukee's. The road travels downhill from the water tower and eventually links back up with Lincoln Memorial Drive. At the north end of Veterans Park is a pedestrian bridge that connects to the Milwaukee River line of the Oakleaf Trail. The Oakleaf Trail is a series of pedestrian paths throughout Milwaukee that total 135 miles in length. There are 12 segments that are generally connected and traverse all corners of Milwaukee County. The Milwaukee River line is one of the most used portions given its proximity to downtown and the natural beauty that it contains due to its proximity to the Milwaukee River. The path is paved and set below street level with plenty of tree cover, which provides for a relaxed pedal north from downtown.
There's not too many access points on this trail, so we're going a little bit north of the city. Gonna wait till we get off, and then we'll go over to the other side of the Milwaukee River and head back into town. But for trail riding, this is a great trail. So it's worth just getting on this and enjoying the nice trail.
While the path goes far north of Milwaukee, the route in this video exits the Oakleaf Trail just before reaching Locust Street. When at street level, a left brings a ride over the Oakleaf Trail and across the Milwaukee River. The view from atop the bridge provides a look at the natural setting that surrounds the river and the width and turns on display from this vantage point. A left into Gordon Park brings a ride to the Beerline Trail. This trail is not as smooth and wide as the Milwaukee River line. However, it brings a ride back south into downtown Milwaukee while running along the west side of the Milwaukee River in a natural setting. The trail feeds into Riverboat Road, which runs adjacent to the Milwaukee River. Riverboat Road becomes Commerce Street, where the ride conveniently passes by Lakefront Brewery, which was the perfect stop for lunch on this day.
All right, we got the most Milwaukee lunch we could possibly think of. We're at Lakefront Brewery. We got Ryan a beer. We got a large pretzel, sausage platter, and cheese curds. 100% Milwaukee. Are you ready to eat? Yeah. All right.
Founded in 1987, Lakefront Brewery was one of Milwaukee's first craft breweries. It is housed in a former power plant directly on the Milwaukee River. It has food and an extensive tap selection and daily tours. The brewery sits in the shadows of the Holton Street Viaduct and has a lively outdoor area with multiple levels along the Milwaukee River. 2 blocks beyond Lakefront Brewery, along Commerce Street, lies Schlitz Park. This plot of land was the former home of Schlitz Brewing Company, founded in 1849. Schlitz was once the world's largest brewery and is known as the beer that made Milwaukee famous. The brewery ceased operations in the early 1980s, and many of the buildings have been razed in the years since. However, many of the main buildings of the former facility remain intact, providing a vivid picture of the former use of this site. There is also an Instagram-worthy Schlitz mural to check out that was painted in 2021. Take the bridge over the Milwaukee River that is next to Schlitz Park that connects to Water Street. Water Street runs parallel to the curving river on its east side. Taking a right onto Water Street brings the ride past some of the more popular bars in Milwaukee that are situated along the Milwaukee River. When crossing State Street, the impressive brown stonework and tower of Milwaukee City Hall come into view. This building from 1895 mirrors the triangular-shaped lot on which it sits. At 350 feet, the tower was the tallest structure in Milwaukee until the 1970s. The ornate details of this building from top to bottom and the ornamentation on the tower are worth a closer look as the ride passes by this structure that is emblematic of the old world brick and stone that exists throughout Milwaukee. The 4 corners of the tower are adorned with turrets that strongly resemble German beer steins, a nod to Milwaukee's brewing dominance in the late 1800s. Across from City Hall sits the Pabst Theater, commissioned and paid for by Captain Frederick Pabst in 1895. The founder of Pabst Brewing wanted to give Milwaukee a first-class European-style theater, and the Pabst Theater has done just that for over 125 years. The building contains ornate detailing inside and out, and complements the adjacent City Hall quite nicely. The Milwaukee Riverwalk is just steps from the Pabst Theater. Developed in the 1990s, the Riverwalk has become one of Milwaukee's signature features. While not conducive to biking due to stairs and elevation changes, the Riverwalk is worth checking out as a way of getting an up-close view of the river, boating activity, and bridges along its length. It runs on both sides of the river for about 3 miles through the downtown area of Milwaukee and includes countless restaurants, art installations, and boating docks. The Bronze Fonz stands proudly just steps from the Pabst Theater and has become one of Milwaukee's most popular tourist spots since its unveiling in 2008. Arthur Fonzarelli was the most iconic character from the 1970s show Happy Days, which was set in 1950s Milwaukee, however, filmed in Hollywood. Despite being small in stature, Fonzie was the epitome of cool in the 1970s, and his cultural prominence remains to this day. As countless visitors saddle up to the Bronze Fonz for a 2 thumbs up salute.
So we're at the biggest tourist spot in all of Milwaukee, the Bronze Fonz. Ryan, do you know who the Fonz is?
No clue.
Kids these days.
Passing over the Milwaukee River from the Bronze Fonz and taking a right onto Plankinton Avenue brings a ride into the Deer District. This newer entertainment district is centered around the Fiserv Forum, home of the Milwaukee Bucks NBA basketball team. Opened in 2018, the Fiserv Forum contains a sloping wood roof that wraps the side of the building in a shape that resembles a beer barrel. The entertainment district followed the arena's construction and is a large draw for sports fans, especially in the Bucks championship year in 2021.
We're at Fiserv Arena, home of the Milwaukee Bucks. Ryan, who's the top player on the Bucks?
Probably Giannis.
Giannis, can you say his last name though?
Antetokounmpo.
Is that right? I don't know.
Passing along the north side of Fiserv Forum brings a ride into the Brewery District and the sprawling grounds of the former Pabst Brewing complex. The Pabst sign hangs high above this complex of stone buildings dating to the mid-1800s. One of the first buildings on the campus are the personal offices of Captain Frederick Pabst, which resembles a castle. Inside the gates of the castle is a courtyard that is a gathering spot for tours of the complex that ceased operations in 1996. There are photo opportunities within the courtyard, along with a Pabst souvenir shop and a historic tavern where an ice-cold Pabst can be purchased and enjoyed. The tour of the grounds is one of the best in Milwaukee. While beer is no longer produced on this site, the buildings have experienced innovative adaptive reuses, with a former brewing facility, now serving as a hotel, and a church, now serving as a microbrewery. Nearly all of the buildings in the complex are constructed from cream-colored brick and sandstone, that is referred to as Cream City brick, and features castle-like ornamentation that defines Milwaukee's architectural style. The Pabst Brewing Complex sits adjacent to the I-43 Expressway, and it is necessary to head south a few blocks and cross over I-43 at Wells Street. Upon crossing the expressway, signs of Marquette University dot the landscape. The Memorial Union is at 14th Street and is a good place to pass through the heart of the campus. Wisconsin Avenue runs straight through the campus, and a more extensive exploration requires recrossing Wisconsin to see the south side of the campus. The highlight of this part is the St. Joan of Arc Chapel. This structure dates to the 15th century and was originally in France, and said to have been visited by Joan of Arc herself. The limestone structure fell into disrepair and was brought to the U.S. in the 1920s, and was eventually donated to Marquette University in the 1960s. It was put together in its original form and offers an intimate sanctuary at the center of the campus. Just a few blocks west of Marquette, along Wisconsin Avenue, sits the Pabst Mansion. Completed in 1892, this was the primary residence of Captain Frederick Pabst. The 20,000 square foot home was nearly torn down in the 1970s, however, was saved from demolition and is now open for tours that provide a glimpse into the lives of one of Milwaukee's most famous families.
Right behind me is the Pabst Mansion. It's where Captain Pabst lived. It's absolutely gorgeous. You're going to have to believe me on that one. It appears to be all covered up in scaffolding right now.
The next stop on the tour involves a 2-mile ride to the Miller Brewing facility in the Miller Valley on State Street, which is 2 blocks north of Wisconsin Avenue. Riding west on State Street goes through the heart of the Concordia neighborhood. The blocks between 27th and 35th highlight a kaleidoscope of home styles in this historic neighborhood that also contains an eclectic vibe. Upon crossing 35th, The Miller Valley unfolds with a downhill ride into this 90-acre site. The Miller Brewery is one of the oldest large-scale brewing facilities in the United States. Established in 1855 by Frederick Miller, this sprawling complex continues to churn out millions of barrels of beer a year. A visitor center has a gift shop and is the meeting spot for brewery tours. The tour brings visitors through brewing facilities, into historic underground caves that were used to keep beer cool before refrigeration, and offers numerous beer samples throughout in historic buildings that have been part of the brewery's 170-year history.
All right, we're at the Miller Brewery tour. We've done this one before. We've also done the Pabst one. I enjoyed the Pabst one a little bit more, but the Miller Brewery tour did exceed expectations, and I would recommend it. Rye, which was your favorite?
See the Pabst for me too.
Yeah, the Pabst was a little authentic. That's the one I'd recommend if you're only going to do one. But you could do both.
Heading south from the Miller Valley and linking up with 44th Street brings the ride into the shadow of American Family Field, home of the Milwaukee Brewers. This stadium was opened in 2021 and was known as Miller Park for its first 20 years. The signature feature of the stadium is the only fan-shaped retractable roof in the United States. The sprawling parking lots are said to house the best tailgating in all of baseball on game days. The exterior of the stadium contains a Brewers Wall of Fame and statues of the most legendary franchise figures, including Robin Yount, Hank Aaron, and Bob Uecker. The Hank Aaron State Trail runs just south of American Family Field and is a route that is used to complete this tour. This trail was dedicated in 2000 and is named after Milwaukee Braves legend Hank Aaron, who played for the team between 1954 and 1965, before the franchise moved to Atlanta. The overall trail runs over 10 miles from Lake Michigan to west of Milwaukee. However, the ride from the stadium back into downtown is just a bit over 3 miles. The portion of the trail back into downtown is along Canal Street and can often feel more like a sidewalk than an actual riding trail.
As the Hank Aaron Trail gets in closer to the city, it's more of a sidewalk along Canal Street. It's a little bit bumpy of riding, not the best. But as you get out west, if you want to go for a longer ride, it's a really great trail that runs west from downtown Milwaukee.
A highlight of this stretch is the towering Potawatomi Hotel and Casino, owned and operated by the Forest County Potawatomi, whose ancestors once lived, hunted, and traded along the rivers that run through Milwaukee. Beyond the Potawatomi Casino, the Hank Aaron Trail runs straight into the Harley-Davidson Museum. This one-of-a-kind attraction sits amidst a sprawling 20-acre campus that is meticulously manicured and surrounded by water. Formerly an industrial site, the site now features a museum with over 450 motorcycles, multiple Harley-Davidson-themed stores, and a lively bar and restaurant. In the center of it all is an impressive sculpture called the Hill Climber, of a man dramatically riding a vintage Harley. Whether a motorcycle enthusiast or not, this site is worth a closer look. Follow the signs for the Hank Aaron Trail to downtown, and the path goes to street riding and takes a left onto First Street at the site of the National Bobblehead Hall of Fame.
This is another big tourist site in Milwaukee, the National Bobblehead Hall of Fame. I've never been, but next time I'm in Milwaukee, I'm going to check it out. Apparently there's 10,000 bobbleheads, maybe more, so must be pretty cool.
Cross the bridge over the Milwaukee River, and the ride enters into the historic 3rd Ward. The 3rd Ward is one of Milwaukee's oldest neighborhoods and was previously home to factories, warehouses, and other industrial uses. It fell into disrepair and abandonment in the second half of the 1900s. However, a revival effort was begun in the late 1980s. In the time since, the area has been extensively revitalized and now is a hub for arts and fashion in all of Milwaukee.
So the historic 3rd Ward, it's hopping tonight. The public market is behind me, packed inside there. There's an arts festival going on behind me. Pretty much it seems like all Milwaukee is in the historic 3rd Ward right now.
The main attraction of the 3rd Ward is the Milwaukee Public Market. This building was opened in 2005 and is 1 block long, containing countless food vendors and shops. It is typically packed during operating hours and can satisfy almost any craving. After checking out the 3rd Ward and the Milwaukee Public Market, Erie Street, which runs along the Milwaukee River, can be taken back to the start of the route. This final stretch passes by Trestle Park, which was the former site of a railway that linked up with the swing bridge that still stands in a fixed position to this day. The Summerfest grounds are on the left, and the Milwaukee River is on the right as the ride passes under the Hone Memorial Bridge. Just ahead is the Red Pier Lighthouse, where this ride began and now ends.
And that's a wrap. This is 28 miles through Milwaukee. I think we hit every site. How about you, Rod? I don't think we missed anything. So if you're in Milwaukee, try to check a few of these out yourself.
So whether you are a Milwaukee native or visitor to this vibrant city, get on a bike and get an up-close look at one or all of the sites detailed in this video. Milwaukee is rich in history, culture, and scenic beauty, a truly unique city with surprises and points of interest around every turn.